So we're gonna break down a little bit on Tombstone and the damage from the match at the Amazon Remars event against Hypershock. No doubt about it that Hypershock hits very, very hard. So right now, as it sits, the whole nose of the robot is twisted and bent. You can kind of see the frame rail is bent a little bit. That doesn't really show the whole shows. So let's look at where the weapon sits in relation to the frame. So right here we've got, it's almost 2 inches from the bottom of that to the weapon tube. If we come around to the other side, so we've just rotated this weapon, 20 degrees, and now that space is less than an inch, about 3/4 of an inch. So the whole frame is twisted this way, that's bent everything. I mean, everything still works, but it's pretty tweaked. You can kind of see the effect of the hit right here on the end. So looks like we caught weapon to weapon right on the edge of the cutting area, and then come around and took a pretty good shot directly on the end of the weapon. That's what bent the frame. That's also what shattered the weapon on Hypershock. But it actually twisted more, because if you see right here, that mark is my weapon striking the frame. So it bent down far enough that actually, the impact part came down and actually hit the frame right there. So it twisted significantly more than where it's twisted right now. It twisted a lot in that big hit. So you can see there's some damage right here. Now compared to the stuff on the front of the frame, that doesn't look all that bad. This is actually 3/16 AR plate, so this is a pretty good ding right here. And it sort of collapsed that side, and right on the other side of that panel is the batteries. And this hit is actually what killed us, because it was this battery that started smoking like crazy and eventually then took out everything else. You see all the rust it looks like on those bolts?
Yeah.
That's not rust. That's sort of chemical residue from the burning batteries. So that's what that is all. It's probably toxic, and we're out here playing with it. Get the cover off and see what it may look like inside. It stinks disturbing these bolts.
So once you took it out of the box and you took it outside, how long did it take you to put the fire out?
Well, so they do weird stuff in that regard. So and the stuff is toxic, so there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. But they kind of want it to be out of fire before they even let you take the covers off, which doesn't work. It sort of just going to keep burning until you can get it out and get a fire extinguisher on it and whatnot. Yeah. Burning lithium is nasty. So it takes a while. We got the back cover off, and then basically all the batteries, all the plastic, all melts. So you just have the burning cells in there, and so you got a big pair of barbecue tongs, and you're pulling out smoking, burning shit and dumping it in a bucket. That's all you're doing. Okay, so I'm wearing a respirator to keep me from breathing that, and I've got a big pair of kitchen tongs, and I'm pulling out burning batteries and setting them in a bucket, to get them out of the robot. All right, so here's the reveal moment.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see what the inside of this robot looks like after a fire. That's pretty disgusting.
Oh wow.
Okay. Look at the backside of the TI car. It's funny that...
Oh, it stinks, doesn't it?
Oh,
ooh,
yeah.
That's raunchy.
Even up to the end of the match, this motor here is essentially locked up. And this, he couldn't pull himself off the kill saw because this one wasn't working. That one was still turning over there.
Huh.
So even right up into the end of the match, when all of this was essentially on fire, the robot was still driving and working. So as nasty as this looks, if I put non-burn batteries in it, I bet it would still work.
Oh my gosh.
Alrighty, so probably those 9/16. Let me get that locked up motor out. Let's see.
Fire! Fire melting. By the way, this was a QR code that melted in the match. And if we run over here, dun, 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 there's a fresh QR code if y'all want to click on it. I'm just saying. Back to the action.
I'm gonna need a condenser.
A condenser? Oh, got it. A condenser.
You know, I'm off there. This is all that same lithium leftover burn stuff.
And the smoke.
Burning batteries is not a good thing. So, here's the drive motor unit. Pull this motor off and see if we can figure out what died there.
Okay.
So now we get to find out if it was motor or gearbox. My guess is motor. Okay, that's pretty buggered. And, you know, the gearbox seems fine. So, yeah, probably burned up brushes would be my guess in this guy. So this is the drive motor that stopped working in the hypershock match. So we got it off the gearbox now, and it's locked up. So we're gonna pull it apart and see if we can figure out what's going on and why we got an issue. I'm betting the brushes are burnt, but we'll find out here in a sec. Definitely got hot because nothing wants to come loose at all. These all the way out.
Those are longer than I expected.
What's that?
Well, those are longer than I expected.
Yeah, they go all the way through the whole of the brush housing on the back of the motor. So that's down there. So it's, now it's going to be this back piece that is my problem child. So let's find out. Well, you know, they don't look as bad as I thought they might. The armature definitely got hot. You can see how toasty all of that is. Get a pair of pliers, pull that kiwi off, pull the armature out, and get a better idea. good and locked. Yeah, okay. Doesn't want to let go. You can see by looking at the color of it, though, that the windings got really hot. And I'm guessing it's touching the magnet, so that's why it was locked up. The brushes actually look pretty good. I was expecting that to be all torched. But this didn't move at all, so it's got to be here. I'll probably have to press that guy down. It's not going to be as easy as it sounds. You can see how hot the windings got. It actually melted some of the plastic in here. Mm-hmm. And that is what was binding up. You can see it sticking up right there. That was what was binding against the magnets in there. So this armature's toast. Got pretty hot. Alright, so it's obvious that the failure here was this particular motor. You can just see where the varnish all got melted off in here, and this was sticking next to the magnets in the magnet housing, so that's why this motor wasn't working. So the failure is clearly the motor, which is obviously bad. The good thing is the much more expensive gearbox is fine. So there wasn't any issues there. So I just throw a new motor on it and we're ready to go again.